crib still warm, a mother's breath catching mid-lullaby, a house full of people, relatives laughing in the kitchen, kids squabbling over toys. And yet, in the span of 5 minutes, a 2-year-old girl vanishes. No broken locks, no screams, just silence where there should have been giggles. This isn't a horror movie. This is the real-life mystery of Isabella Jonas Wilden, a case where the ordinary becomes unthinkable, and the people you trust most become strangers. How does a child disappear from a locked home? The answer will leave you questioning every shadow in broad daylight. What happens when a child vanishes, but not in the way you'd expect? Not snatched from a playground, not stolen from a parked car, but from the one place we're all told is safest, her own home. A home full of people, a home with locked doors, a home where, minutes before, her mother had sung her a lullaby. This is the story of Isabella Jonas Wilden, a 2-year-old girl who disappeared in a house crowded with family and left behind a mystery that still burns decades later. A case where the facts don't add up, where the people closest to her became suspects, and where the truth is a shadow that slips further away the harder you chase it. But here's what makes Isabella's story different. There's no stranger in a black van, no ransom note, no smoking gun, just a family torn apart by secrets, a community pointing fingers, and a little girl who vanished into thin air. Was it a tragic accident, a cruel cover-up, or something even worse? To understand, we have to go back to the beginning, to a sunny morning in Adelaide, Australia. July 15th, 2008, the day the laughter stopped. This isn't just a true crime story. This is a nightmare dressed in daylight. And by the end, you'll question everything you think you know about the people you love and the lies they might tell. July 15th, 2008, Adelaide, Australia. A crisp winter morning, the kind where sunlight feels like a lie. The Jonas Wilden house buzzed with the chaos of family, aunts debating reality TV in the kitchen, uncles clinking beer bottles on the patio, kids screeching over a game of hide and seek. Rachel, Isabella's mother, moved through it all like a ghost. Later, she'd tell police she'd been tired, that she'd given Isabella her favorite stuffed rabbit, kissed her forehead, and closed the nursery door. A normal nap, a normal day. But nothing about what happened next was normal. At 11:47 a.m., Rachel returned to check on Isabella. The crib? Empty. The window? Locked. The door? Still closed. No thud. No cry. Just a cold, unmade bed where a toddler should have been. Panic ripped through the house. Relatives tore apart laundry baskets. Neighbors scoured backyards. Someone called the police, voice cracking. She's gone. She's just gone. Here's what baffled detectives. The house was a fortress. Every door deadbolt. Every window latched. No fingerprints but the family's. No sign of struggle. Just a single haunting detail. The stuffed rabbit lay perfectly centered in the crib, as if placed there carefully. So how does a 2-year-old vanish from a locked room? Was she stolen? Or did she never leave? The answer would tear a hole in this family, and in the idea that safety exists at all. On the surface, the Jonas Wildens looked like any ordinary family. Rachel, the young mother with tired eyes, always clutching a coffee mug. Andrew, the stepfather, with his quiet smile and calloused hands from years of construction work. 2 older siblings, kids with scraped knees and messy hair. A family photo from Christmas 2007 shows them all grinning in matching pajamas. But detectives soon realized this picture was a lie. Peel back the layers and you'd find a web of secrets, accidents, and a question that still chills. Was this a family or a stage play? Let's start with Rachel. To the neighbors, she was the devoted mom, the one who hosted playdates and packed lunches with heart-shaped sandwiches. But police dug deeper. They found a pattern of stories that didn't stick. In 2005, her first child, a baby boy, was rushed to the hospital after a fall from a changing table. Doctors noted suspicious bruises, but Rachel blamed a clumsy cousin. The case was closed. Then in 2007, her daughter Mia broke an arm during a game of tag. Teachers reported Mia flinching whenever Rachel entered the room. But again, no proof. Just whispers. Then there was Andrew, the stepfather, the quiet man who'd wave at neighbors but never speak. Police uncovered his past. A former girlfriend had filed a restraining order in 2003, claiming he'd thrown a lamp at her during an argument. Andrew denied it, said she was crazy. The charges were dropped, but the file stayed open. When asked about Isabella, his alibi was airtight. I was fixing the sink all morning. But coworkers told a different story. Andrew had missed work that week. said he had family stuff to handle. But the real mystery? The siblings. 2 kids caught in the storm. During interviews, they'd whisper about games they played with Rachel and Andrew. Games with rules they couldn't explain. Games where they'd have to hide or stay quiet. One social worker noted the older girl, Mia, drawing the same picture over and over. A stick figure lying in a crib with a giant eye hovering above it. When asked, Mia just shrugged. "It's nothing. Mom says it's make-believe." Friends and family were split. Rachel's sister told police she'd never hurt those kids. She's just unlucky. But a cousin was darker. Rachel lies like she breathes. You never know what's real with her. Even the neighbors were divided. One recalled Rachel screaming at Isabella in a supermarket, "Stop crying, or I'll give you something to cry about." Another swore Rachel was a saint. She adopted Andrew's kids when their mom walked out. Who does that if they're evil? Then came the kicker. Police discovered Rachel had Googled 2 things the week before Isabella vanished. How long does it take to suffocate? And can a toddler survive a 10-foot fall? Rachel claimed it was research for a crime novel she was writing. But detectives found no drafts. No notes. Just those chilling searches. Andrew, meanwhile, had a secret of his own. A storage unit rented under a fake name. Inside, baby clothes, a shovel, and a stack of true crime magazines. When confronted, he laughed. "I was going to donate the clothes. The shovels for gardening. And the magazines? I like the puzzles." But the unit was 20 miles from their home, and the shovel spotless. The siblings stopped talking after that. Closed off. Blank stares. Teachers said they'd flinch at loud noises. The older boy, Liam, started wetting his bed. When a child psychologist asked him to describe Isabella, he whispered, "She's gone where the angels can't find her." But here's what keeps detectives up at night. None of this proves anything. Suspicion isn't evidence. Secrets aren't confessions. Rachel and Andrew passed polygraphs. The siblings' stories wobbled, one day blaming a bad man, the next clamming up. Even the Google searches? Without a body, they're just words. So what's the truth? Maybe it's hidden in the cracks of this family. In Rachel's shaky hands whenever she said Isabella's name. In Andrew's cold smirk during interrogations. Or in the way the siblings would hug each other too tight, like they were afraid to disappear next. This wasn't a family. It was a hall of mirrors. Every reflection a lie. Every truth a shadow. And somewhere in the center of it all, a little girl who vanished because the people who should have loved her most were too busy hiding. For days, the search for Isabella consumed Adelaide. Police combed streets, peered into dumpsters, and waded through knee-deep grass in nearby parks. Helicopters buzzed overhead, their spotlights turning night into day. Volunteers, hundreds of them, poked sticks into storm drains and shouted Isabella's name until their voices cracked. But with every hour, hope faded. And what they found instead? A trail of clues that made no sense. Red herrings, dead ends, and questions that only dragged everyone deeper into the dark. Let's start with the first lead. A neighbor, Mrs. Patel, swore she'd seen a man in a black SUV parked near the Jonas Wilden home the day Isabella vanished. He wore sunglasses, she said. Sat there for hours just watching. Police traced every black SUV in the state. They found nothing. No fingerprints. No security footage. Just a blurry dashcam video of a vehicle that might have been black, or blue, or green. Then came the text message. 2 days before Isabella disappeared, Rachel's phone lit up with an unknown number. The message read, "They're watching you." When police traced it, the number led to a burner phone bought at a gas station, 300 miles away. The clerk couldn't remember the buyer. "Just a guy in a hat," he said. "Paid cash." Rachel claimed she had no idea who'd sent it. But detectives wondered, was it a threat, a warning, or a distraction? As the search widened, so did the chaos. A psychic called the tip line frantic. "I see water," she said. "A shallow grave near a riverbank. She's there, I feel it." Police rolled their eyes but followed the lead. They brought cadaver dogs to a muddy stretch of the Onkaparinga River. For hours, nothing. Then a hit. The dogs pawed at the dirt, barking wildly. Officers dug, and dug, until their shovels struck something small, stained with mud. A tiny pink sock. The sock sent shockwaves. Was it Isabella's? Rachel said yes. She wore those the day she vanished. But forensics found no DNA. No traces of her skin. Just dirt and a faded cartoon unicorn. The media pounced. Breakthrough in Isabella case. But investigators knew the truth. Without a body, the sock meant nothing. It could have been there for months. Years. A cruel coincidence. Then came the whispers. A volunteer searcher claimed he'd seen Andrew near the river days earlier. Carrying a duffel bag, he said. Looked nervous. Andrew denied it. I was at work, he snapped. But his foreman couldn't confirm. Andrew had clocked out early that week. Family emergency, he'd said. The theories spiraled. Was Isabella kidnapped? Sold? Buried in a field? Cops re-interviewed the family, pressed for inconsistencies. Rachel's sister broke down. Check the stepdad. He's hiding something. Andrew's ex-girlfriend came forward. He used to joke about making people disappear. But again, no proof. Just fear and hearsay. The most chilling moment? When police searched the Jonas Wilden home a second time. In Mia's bedroom, they found a crayon drawing taped to the wall. A stick figure with blonde curls lay in a crib. Above her floated a black shadow with glowing red eyes. When asked, Mia said, "That's the Watcher. He takes kids who cry too much." Rachel snatched the drawing away. She's imagining things. Days turned to weeks. The riverbank search expanded. Diverse scoured murky water. A farmer reported a freshly dug patch in his field. It was a buried sheep. A tip came in from a trucker. Saw a girl matching Isabella's description at a rest stop. DNA tests on a lollipop wrapper came back negative. Then silence. No new leads. No arrests. Just a pink sock in an evidence locker and a family unraveling. Rachel stopped giving interviews. Andrew grew a beard, hid under baseball caps. The siblings were pulled from school. And the public? They turned vicious. Online forums lit up with accusations. The mom did it. The stepdad's a psychopath. But without a body, police were stuck. Here's what haunts me. Every clue in this case is a riddle. The black SUV? A phantom. The text message? A ghost. The psychic? A guess. Even the sock, the one piece of evidence, is just a sock. A tiny, ordinary thing that might mean everything, or nothing. So where does that leave us? With a truth that's slippery, an investigation that's frozen, and a little girl who vanished into a storm of maybes and what-ifs. The hardest part isn't the lack of answers. It's the fear that the answers exist. That someone somewhere knows exactly what happened to Isabella Jonas Wilden, and they're just waiting for the world to forget. 4 days into the search, the case took a turn no one saw coming. Rachel Jonas Wilden, Isabella's mother, sat in a cramped interrogation room. Her hands trembled. Her voice cracked. And then she broke. "It was an accident," she sobbed. "She fell. I panicked. I hit her. But I didn't mean to." For a moment, detectives thought they had their answer. Finally, a thread to pull. But what followed wasn't a confession. It was a trapdoor into madness. Rachel, archival tape, distorted. I put her down for a nap. She was fussy. I shook her. Just a little. But she stopped breathing. I didn't know what to do. I drove to the river. Buried her under a tree. Please, you have to believe me. Police raced to the location Rachel described. Cameras rolled. Shovels bit into the earth. But with every scoop of dirt, hope turned to dread. No tiny body. No blanket. No toys. Just roots and rocks. Rachel, watching from the back of a squad car, crumpled. "I lied," she whispered. "I made it up. I just wanted the pain to stop." The public exploded. News channels replayed Rachel's tearful confession on loop. Social media split into warring camps. Comment sections became battlegrounds. She admitted it. Burn the witch. Can't you see? She's covering for someone. Even the family fractured. Rachel's sister stormed out of an interview. "I don't know who she is anymore." Andrew, the stepfather, smirked during a press conference. Rachel's emotional. You know how women are. But behind the scenes, detectives were stumped. Why confess to a crime that left no trace? Why lead them to a riverbank with nothing but dirt? Here's what didn't add up. Rachel's story kept shifting. First, she claimed Isabella fell. Then, she said she tripped while carrying her. Later, she blamed sleep deprivation. "I hallucinated. I thought I hurt her." Psychiatrists evaluated her. No history of delusions. Just a woman drowning in guilt, or guilt's clever imitation. Then came the phone call. 2 weeks after the confession, an anonymous tipster claimed Rachel had practiced the sobbing mother act in front of a mirror. A neighbor's security camera caught her pacing her backyard at 3 a.m., muttering to herself days before Isabella vanished. She looked rehearsed, the neighbor said. But the darkest twist? A voicemail, recovered from Rachel's phone, time-stamped the night before Isabella disappeared. Her voice eerily calm. "Whatever happens tomorrow, it's for the best." Rachel swore it was about scheduling a doctor's appointment. But the timing? Chilling. The police had nothing. No body. No cause of death. No crime scene. Just a mother who cried wolf and a stepfather who seemed almost amused by the chaos. Legal experts called it the worst kind of case, all smoke, no fire. And Isabella? She became a ghost in the machine, a name reduced to hashtags and theories. A little girl lost in the noise of her mother's lies. The truth didn't just slip away, it was buried alive. So why confess? Was it guilt? Manipulation? Or a desperate bid to control a story that was already spiraling? We'll never know. But here's what's clear. In the end, Rachel's confession didn't bring answers. It just proved how easy it is to lose the truth in a storm of lies. Just when the case seemed dead, a single clue clawed its way out of the darkness. A clue so shocking, it turned everything upside down. A clue that should have cracked the case wide open, but instead left it bleeding out in the dirt. This is the twist no one saw coming. The one that proves sometimes the truth isn't just hidden, it's buried. 3 months after Isabella vanished, forensics scrubbed every inch of the Jonas Wilden home. Again, but this time they widened the search. They took Andrew's work truck, a beat-up Toyota Hilux he'd driven for years. They swabbed the seats, the floor mats, the steering wheel. And there, buried in a crack near the gear shift, they found it. A speck of blood. Tiny, dried, invisible to the naked eye. But when the lab results came back, it matched Isabella's DNA. Andrew swore he had nothing to do with it. "I drive that truck every day," he shouted. Her DNA could have come from a snotty tissue, a scraped knee, anything. But the timeline didn't add up. The blood was fresh. Too fresh. According to the lab, it was less than 24 hours old, the day Isabella vanished. Rachel shockingly stood by him. "Andrew's innocent," she told reporters, her voice flat. "I'd know if he hurt her." But detectives weren't buying it. They'd seen this before, the loyal spouse, the tangled lies. Prosecutors built a new theory. What if Isabella's disappearance wasn't a kidnapping, but a cover-up? A way to hide something far worse? Imagine this. A toddler dies in a home filled with secrets. Maybe an accident, maybe something darker. But instead of calling 911, someone panics. They hide the body. They invent a kidnapping. And they pray the world never digs deep enough to find the rot beneath the roses. That's what prosecutors believed. But without a body, they couldn't charge murder. Without a crime scene, they couldn't prove how Isabella died. All they had was a speck of blood and a family tearing itself apart. Andrew's past exploded into the spotlight. Old coworkers came forward. He'd joke about taking out the trash when his kids misbehaved. His ex-wife broke her silence. He'd lock the boys in their rooms for hours. Said it was discipline. Even his alibi crumbled. Security footage from a gas station proved he wasn't at work the morning Isabella vanished. He'd lied. Rachel, meanwhile, spiraled. She showed up to a police interview, wearing Isabella's pink hair clip. "She's still with me," she murmured, tapping her chest. When asked about the blood in Andrew's truck, she laughed, a hollow, broken sound. "You think I'd let him hurt my baby? I'd die first." But the most damning detail? Andrew's internet history. The week before Isabella disappeared, he'd searched, "How long does DNA last in a car? And can bleach destroy blood evidence?" When confronted, he shrugged. "I watch crime shows. It's just curiosity." The public demanded justice. Protests erupted outside the courthouse. News vans camped on the family's lawn. But legally, the case was stuck. No body, no murder charge. No witnesses, no kidnapping case. Just a bloodstain and a mountain of maybe. The family shattered. Andrew moved out, claiming Rachel turned the kids against him. The siblings were sent to live with relatives. Mia, the older sister, stopped speaking entirely. She just rocked back and forth, clutching Isabella's stuffed rabbit. When asked about her sister, she'd point to the sky. Rachel became a ghost. She'd wander the grocery store, staring at toddler clothes. Neighbors said they'd hear her screaming at night. "Where is SHE?" But no one knew if she was screaming at Andrew or herself. The media lost interest. New tragedies took over the headlines. Isabella's face faded from posters, replaced by missing pets and yard sale ads. The cops closed the case, labeling it unsolved, presumed deceased. But here's what keeps me up at night: that speck of blood. That one thread. If Andrew did it, why leave evidence in his own truck? If he didn't, why lie about his alibi? Why search about DNA? And why would Rachel, a mother who confessed, then recanted, defend him to the bitter end? The truth is a house with no doors. We circle it. We pound the walls. But we never get in. Isabella's case isn't a mystery. It's a grave. And somewhere deep down, the answers are rotting. Maybe the twist isn't in the clues, but in the silence. The silence of a stepfather who never cried. The silence of a mother who cried too much. The silence of a little girl who never got to speak. And the silence of a world that chose to look away. Years pass. Seasons change. But some stories don't end. They just rot. Today, Isabella Jonas Wilden's case is a graveyard of what-ifs. No arrests. No justice. No tiny bones unearthed under a lonely tree. Just theories, whispers, and a question that claws at anyone who dares to listen. What do we really know? Let's start with the facts, or lack of them. Rachel and Andrew still live in Adelaide, but not together. Rachel works at a pharmacy, her hands trembling as she counts pills. Andrew drives trucks across the outback, his face weathered by sun and secrets. The siblings? Split between foster homes. Mia, the oldest, refuses to speak about Isabella. She's gone, she told a therapist. That's all. In 2015, Rachel sat down for a documentary interview. Her hair grayed, her eyes vacant. When asked about that day, she froze. Then, softly, I wish I could remember what really happened. A producer pressed her. What does that mean? But Rachel just stared at the wall. Memories lie, she said. Even yours. Was that a confession? A plea? Or the rambling of a woman shattered by guilt or grief? The internet lit up with armchair detectives. She's guilty. Why else say that? Trauma messes with your head. She's a victim too. But here's the problem. Without proof, it's all noise. The police haven't closed the case, but they've stopped knocking on doors. The file gathers dust. And Isabella? She's a footnote in true crime forums, a blurry photo shared between conspiracy threads. So let's play the theories out. Theory 1, the accident. Isabella dies in a mundane tragedy. A fall, a choke, a moment of parental neglect. Rachel panics. Andrew helps hide the body. The kidnapping is a lie to save themselves. But why keep lying for years? Why not bury the truth deeper? Theory 2, the monster. Andrew kills Isabella. Impulse or premeditation. Rachel either helps cover it up or lives in denial. The blood in his truck, the shady internet searches, the violent past, all point to him. But why no body? Why no confession? Theory 3, the unthinkable. Something darker. A family secret too vile to name. The siblings' whispers about games. Mia's drawing of the Watcher. Was Isabella a sacrifice? A pawn? A casualty of something we can't fathom? But here's the truth. Theories don't dig graves. They don't convict killers. They just haunt the living. The town of Adelaide still feels the scars. Neighbors cross the street to avoid Rachel. Parents grip their kids' hands tighter at the park. Even the Jonas Wilden house stands empty, windows boarded, garden overgrown. Locals say they hear crying at night. Investigators call it the wind. Andrew, meanwhile, thrives in the shadows. He remarried, had another kid, posts photos of barbecues and beach trips. When asked about Isabella, he shrugs. Tragedy happens. Life goes on. But Rachel? She's stuck in July 2008. She visits Isabella's nursery, now a storage room, and touches the crib like it's made of glass. In a rare moment of clarity, she told a friend, I see her sometimes. In dreams. She's always asking, why won't you find me? So what do we really know? We know a child vanished. We know a family broke. We know the justice system failed. But the rest? It's smoke. Maybe the answer's buried in Rachel's head, lost to guilt or madness. Maybe Andrew's smirking because he got away with it. Or maybe the truth is worse, that Isabella's death was nobody's fault, and everybody's. A series of small, stupid choices that snowballed into a nightmare. But here's what chills me. Monsters don't always hide under beds. Sometimes they make you breakfast. They tuck you in. They swear they'd die for you, even as they bury you. Isabella Jonas Wilden would be 18 this year. An adult, maybe a student, a musician, a dreamer. But she's none of those things. She's a ghost, a warning, a reminder that the scariest stories don't end with once upon a time. They end with silence. Isabella Jonas Wilden would be 18 years old today. Think about that. An adult, old enough to vote, to drive, to dream about a future that never came. Instead, she's frozen in time, a toddler in pigtails smiling from missing posters that peel at the edges, a face faded by sun and rain, a question mark stamped on a community that's still afraid to ask. What if you're listening to this, I need you to do something. Right now. Pause. Look at her photo. Really look. Those round cheeks. That crooked grin. The tiny gap between her front teeth. This isn't just a face on a poster. This was a little girl who loved blueberries and hated socks, who giggled when her sister blew raspberries on her belly, a child who deserved to grow old. Maybe you know something, a rumor you brushed off, a detail that felt too small to matter. Maybe your uncle joked about a job he did in Adelaide back in '08. Maybe your neighbor dug a hole in his yard that summer and acted off. Maybe you've stayed silent because you're scared, or because you think it's too late. Let me tell you, it's not. Secrets are chains. They keep killers walking free. They keep mothers like Rachel trapped in purgatory. They keep cases like Isabella's rotting in dusty filing cabinets. But you could break those chains. One call, one tip, one moment of courage. That's all it takes to change everything. I'm not asking you to play detective. I'm asking you to listen to that voice in your gut, the one that whispers, "This doesn't feel right." That voice matters. It's how cold cases crack, how monsters finally fall, how ghosts like Isabella find peace. And if you're still hesitating, think about this. Someone out there knows what happened. They've carried it for years. Maybe they're your coworker, your friend, your parent. They laugh at barbecues. They hug their kids. They sleep just fine at night. While Isabella's family, they don't sleep. They don't laugh. They don't heal. Because without the truth, grief has no end. So here's my warning. Silence isn't neutral. It's a weapon. Every time we look away, every time we shrug and say, "It's not my problem," we become part of the lie. We let the shadows win. Isabella's story doesn't have to end here. Her name doesn't have to be a cautionary tale. It can be a rallying cry, a reminder that even in the darkest cases, light survives, but only if we're brave enough to strike the match. If you know anything, no matter how small, call Crime Stoppers Australia. Do it for the families still trapped in 2008. Do it for the siblings who lost their childhoods. Do it for the little girl who never got to grow up. Or do it for yourself, because living with a secret this heavy, it's a prison sentence. Isabella's case remains open. Her story isn't over. And somewhere out there, the truth is waiting.